What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Naynay, where I talk about MMA, of course, lifestyle, my life, mindset, and now professional wrestling. So this week, bro, we have a great guest in our Tazz Knows podcast. Tazz and I have introduced, wait for it, Chavo Guerrero Jr. Woo!
Chavo Guerrero! Tazz, what in the world?
For those that don't know who Chavo Guerrero Jr. is, he is a professional wrestling legend. He has been in huge companies, or has worked with huge companies such as WWE, WCW, Lucha Underground, all this. There's so many, AEW, I can keep going and going and going, but he has been everywhere. He started since the 1990s, and he's still very active in professional wrestling industry. So I wanted to share a topic that was brought up in the conversation that it relates so much, bro. Everything connects and it makes so much sense. For those that don't know, of course, I don't do professional wrestling, but I have tried a few classes with my friend Misa Kate, who is amazing for it. She has taught me some of the things, and I've been going in deep, just getting to know people in the industry. And I was so grateful that Chavo Guerrero, he decided to have this conversation with Tazz and I, and then I can just keep going. But the main topic that was brought to my attention and that stood out to me is being adaptive. So before the podcast, I met Chavo through the wrestling convention when I was in Philly. And Chavo actually was very humble. I introduced myself to him. He was very humble. And after that first encounter, I actually met him again at a professional wrestling seminar here in Chicago. And I asked him a question that, it was all me out of ignorance, but I did ask him, like, what was different about you? What is different about you aside from all of the wrestlers? And he was honest with me, and he told me that he was very adaptive. And then I went on a search, because I was like, you know what, who has he wrestled with? And he's basically wrestled with everyone from the professional wrestling business. You have to look him up. And I noticed that he was able to connect professional wrestling with MMA. One of the things that he mentioned was that he had to learn how to wrestle anybody, from the smallest person to the biggest person over 300 pounds. And it's funny because as MMA, we have to learn how to be adaptive when it comes to fighting. Whenever we're about to train for a fight, we have to spar people that are bigger and smaller than us in order for us to get accustomed to their training styles. And it was the same thing with Chavo. He explained how he would adapt to different training styles in order for him to get better. And that also meant him training Japanese style wrestling, as well as American style wrestling, as well as Mexican, like lucha libre. And it was impressive to know that even in the professional wrestling world, they go through the same thing as MMA people, like the MMA world, where we also have to learn how to adapt ourselves according to our training partners. If we have a training partner that's definitely bigger than us, they might pull up a different strategy than someone that's smaller than us, right? The smaller person, like me, like small little one. I am 140 pounds, 135 pounds. I can go against someone that's bigger than me, and I might use my speed against them. And vice versa, that person, the bigger person, might just use not even strength, they might just use their reach, right? Because they're probably longer than I am. And so things like that were like light bulbs in my head, because I am interested in learning more about professional wrestling and just getting to know the mindset behind it and how they come up with scripts and how they can perform in the ring with so much pressure. And that's one of the topics that we talked about in the podcast, that we have to work on the pressure as far as putting yourself out there every day, every match that you have in front of people that you don't know, people that don't like you, people that don't even know who you are. You still have to put up performance regardless of who's there or not. And it's the same thing with fighting in MMA, because now you have when you're about to fight in a cage, you have people that don't believe in you, that people that want to see you knocked out, people that want to see you lose, and then you also have people that believe in you. And that's where everything translates into like a show, right? And as someone that performs in both, like let's say in the cage and in a ring, you have to be able to perform regardless of who's watching. So that comes with, again, having the experience, having the adaptability, and being able to basically change yourself into this character who now you have to be able to perform, you have to be able to connect with the audience. And all these things that came up were just light bulbs in my head, because as far as professional wrestling, for some people that are ignorant about it, I mean, a lot of people can say the F word, right? I don't want to say it because I don't want to disrespect anyone. But at the same time, it's some real shit that they gotta go through on a daily basis to first make sure that their bodies are okay, and then two, that they need to perform, put their best selves out there. And it's funny because in MMA we do the same thing, right? We train so hard just so we can perform in a fight, or we can perform in the mats. So I love how they both connect. And Chavo did a really great job at connecting both. There were so many topics and so many references that we use in MMA that he uses in professional wrestling. And I don't want to give it away because, again, this is a great podcast that I want you guys to take a look. Take a look at Tazz Knows podcast on YouTube and Tazz Knows on Spotify. If you guys are into MMA, you guys know that there are so many things that MMA connects to this world. This is how I live my life now. I connect the concepts and principles that I've learned in my life through MMA, and I live them in my life. And now I'm able to understand that and then use that to understand different arts, such as professional wrestling in general, and then professional wrestling. And everything is so beautiful. So I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. Make sure you add Tazz Knows on both Spotify, Anchor, and YouTube. And make sure you let us know what you think of the podcast. Because if this is a good podcast and if you guys enjoy it, we can have more podcasts with other guests. And I just want you guys to know that I really appreciate this.